right, kid. I got another one for you, so set yourself on down. First things first, I got a question for you. Have you ever had trouble offering someone an apology for something when you knew you were the one who was in the wrong? Well, I'm going to see if I can help you feel better about making a sincere apology whenever one is due. Right now, I'm feeling pretty certain that you might not be seeing it for what it truly is. Because you see, a sincere apology is actually a powerful magical tool. Now, my first recollection of where an apology made an overwhelming, powerful impact at a point where my life collided with another was in my hometown. For context, you have to understand that in the 70s, if you were some long haired kid living in a small town in Texas, it meant that you made a relatively good sized target for a whole lot of nonsense. So I developed a deep disdain for those I had misjudged and mislabeled as being what I called rednecks based on the music that they listened to and the clothes that they wore. And they provided me the very same courtesy by labeling me a long-haired, devil-worshipping rock and roller who did drugs and so forth, all because I wore black concert shirts. So we divided up into our respective camps, and we'd glare at one another as we passed in the hall at school and so on. Then I think I must have been about 18 years old, and I had something of an epiphany. I took a deeper look into how I wanted my life to be, as well as how I wanted it not to be. It was around the time of the holidays. I walk into this local department store to get who knows what, and I see this firebrand. Let's call her, for the purposes of this little video essay, Redneck Girl. And I had an idea, but I was going to need something to break the ice that was as thick as the polar ice sheets. So I picked up some little bauble off of the nearest impulse rack. I check out at the cashier and I make a beeline over to her. Now, she and I had shared many a dagger-filled glare, so when she caught sight of me, she rolled her eyes and turned her head in a manner that told me she wanted to know that she was intentionally ignoring my presence because being at work meant that she could not give me the finger. I didn't take my eyes off of her. I walked right toward her. She prepared herself for a cold, rigid, strictly business exchange. She asked what she could help me with. I ran down pretty much what I had just gone over here, and I told her exactly how I felt about it. I'm tired of being enemies. Man, she looked like she had been hit by a truck. She said, "We're not enemies." I said, "Yeah, we are. We have been. We've acted like it." I handed her the box with the bauble. I told her it wasn't much of anything, just something to say I hope we would stop. Fight no more forever. I left to attend school after that. I can't recall clearly. I think maybe I saw her one more time after that, if I'm remembering right. Only in passing, only to offer a smile and a wave. I only know that I will not have to leave this earthly plane with one more enemy. When you've been wrong, own up to it. You bring peace into this world, and you will see how much it lets others bring their peace into this world too. Have you ever heard a loved one using colorful language about another driver on the road? Have you ever witnessed a road rage incident or any erratic drivers in traffic? Well, if you ever look in the mirror and suddenly find out that it's you, perhaps this will help guide you to a solution. There was another situation where I was in traffic on a surface street, and this guy in a truck starts gunning it. And I see that he's going to try and cut me off, so I just boxed him out. I see that this gets the better of him, and I just laugh about it. Now, he sees this, and it sets him off. I mean, it really set him off. I started laughing mockingly just to rile him up until we're both escalating this situation. And I see where I can actually checkmate this guy, stick him at the red light, and he'll be fuming for the rest of the day. I stopped at the light, I rolled down the window, and this guy thinks we are about to get into a shouting match. And I said, "Hey man, I just realized that I'm acting like a toddler here. I've had a bad day. That was stupid, and I shouldn't have done that. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was driving like an idiot back there." This guy's face fell, and after a moment, to process what happened, he said, That's all right. I've done it before too. We exchanged pleasantries and moved on. When you stop in the middle of a situation like that and drop the bomb of a shocking apology, everything immediately comes to a halt. When you've got a situation where two or more people are spinning out of control in what appears to be a chaotic and unmanageable state of adult tantrum behavior, and that has now been restored to sanity, all because one decided to look inside the self and admit, not only to himself but to anyone else involved, exactly what was going on, and instead of clinging to the need to control and defend their long held character defects, repeated patterns of behavior stemming from childhood traumas, they would choose to humble themselves, apologize for their immature behavior, and offer a sincere apology. It is nearly impossible for the other party to wrap their mind around. It's harder to do, but it's far more effective, and the results are incredibly immediate. One additional upside is that, especially in a country where there are more guns than people, road rage does not escalate to gun violence. Remember that you can always decide to be part of the solution. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, what do you want to be about? Do you want to be a decent human being? What do you want to put out in the world you live in? All of these stories that I tell you are not merely wild imaginings. All of this I have experienced firsthand, and I know that it is an incredibly effective way to make peace. I am quite certain people remember these exchanges as being positive experiences. And in equal measure, I am sure that when I ignored the opportunity to apologize in situations where there had been tensions in traffic on the roadway, I may well have ruined the rest of someone's day. And if the memory of that exchange ever bubbles up in their mind, the energy of that floats up on the surface of their thoughts, they probably just shake their head and think, man, what a douche. I don't care to have that on my conscience. I would much prefer to improve my conscious contact with others, as well as the ability to gain the knowledge, will, and power to carry out a far greater improved relationship with those I have to share a planet with, having an awakening and try to carry a message in hope that others might practice these principles in all of their affairs as well, by simply saying to another person in that moment, I just realized that I am the one behaving like a ginormous jackass. It gives both sides the freedom not to have to carry that burden around. Determine if living with that kind of freedom is what you truly desire. Is it something else that you seek? The more you begin to use the sheer magic of the apology, you will notice its power. You will notice the immediacy of it. Perhaps more than anything else, however, you will notice the willingness of others to forgive. That is a powerful force indeed. Is it courage or knowledge that you seek? When people have an awareness of how remorseful you are and how sincere your feelings about it truly are, their default setting seems to lean toward feelings of forgiveness. Perhaps it's due to all the times they were unable to muster the courage to apologize themselves when they should have. Perhaps it's the knowledge of the need for forgiveness. That takes courage, all right, and that is a path that can certainly lead to knowledge, insight, and wisdom. Will you seek to change your heart, to lose the energy of rage? Rage is a destructive act. When you offer an apology, that change of heart is immediately visible to the other person or people present. The dynamic of that action in that moment is an almost magical energetic force. Hopefully, if you open your heart enough, you will let that wisdom find you. How would you like to trade a truly bad habit for an incredibly great one? One that will serve you for the rest of your life, one that will make the world a much better place forever. People find apologies difficult. This is rooted in the ego. It's too bad that it's such a profoundly ingrained human habit because it is foolish. I don't know if there's any solid way to compile a comprehensive list of why apologizing is one of the best habits a person can develop, but I can cite a few examples, more points of reference, I suppose. I worked with this one guy at a chemical plant back home in the 90s. He was this big teddy bear of a guy, a gentle giant type. Now, I know that some psychologists might admonish some people for apologizing too much and tell them not to act like doormats, and perhaps that applies to certain personality types. And I have also seen Canadians being made sport of on television sitcoms for being overly polite. But this guy, with great frequency, would stop and say, "Oi, I'm sorry, man," for even the slightest near miss in a hallway where humans navigate pathways using collective emergent behavior, optic flow, self organization, and local interaction rules, the social force model, mirror neutrons, and empathy systems just to dodge one another in crowds. But the funniest thing began to happen. His habits became infectious, not with just me, but with everyone. And I began a playful interaction with him. Not exactly like that British upper received pronunciation thing or the comical Chip and Dale thing or anything quite like that, but more along the lines of this, "Oh, my good man, and my good sir, or madam, and good day to you, and pardoning me, but thanking you," and things along that line. And it stuck and it stands to this day everywhere I go. And you will be amazed at how far politeness, manners, kindness, and simple respect will take you. Have you ever felt like you could use a little push to get past your pride? I recall being put on the spot as a young kid to apologize, and for me, it was really embarrassing. But if anyone had ever even bothered to just sit me down ahead of time and prepare me for it, I was smart enough to understand. I knew right from wrong, and if I was in the wrong and someone would have just pointed out to me that I was in the wrong in the moment and then said, "Hey, remember how we talked about this? And this is the place where to apologize," that's where I am relatively certain I would have been completely capable of comprehending the lesson, learning from it, and applying it to that moment in life. Maybe there's a lesson in that, kid. If you need any guidance, I'd be happy to offer some free advice that I hope will be of benefit to you. Be stronger than I've been. Be better than I've been. Succeed where I have failed. Learn from all of the mistakes that I have made and heed my words. In those moments where you can see that you're in the wrong, set your stubbornness aside, swallow your pride, pop the balloon that is your ego, put out an empty palm to show that your gun hand is empty, be humble and kind, say simple words, "I am sorry," be strong. I know that will feel like a balancing act sometimes, but try to remember my words. Let them be your power in those moments. Have you ever had any bad news that you didn't want to share with someone? Well, I'm afraid I got a little bad news for you here and now. But don't worry, it's not all bad. There's a little good news at the end, so here we go. One thing that I do want to prepare you for is this. It is rare, but it does happen. So I don't want you to be caught off guard. Just because you offer an apology, no matter how heartfelt, it does not mean that they have to accept it or forgive you. You must be willing to understand that and move on. It does not feel good, but you were the one at fault. So you let the chips fall where they may. There may be reasons for this. Life and love are complex, with great many facets. Sometimes there is no resolution and you move on with no further contact. Sometimes forgiveness can be found and love remains, but they choose to stay away for their well-being. The vast majority of people will be forgiving. Try to be one of those people. Forgiveness is a fundamental human value that transcends boundaries and serves as a path to inner peace and happiness. Think of it as the equal and opposite reaction to a sincere apology. Well, once again, it seems that I have meandered on as I am wont to do. But you know that with me, it's always more than just a little while. Know that I love you and that I'm always with you.